what I'm sure happened, from my knowledge, is an impossibility. So it's got me a little bit buggered, but I've gotten to camp tonight and I'm heading to another campsite tomorrow, which is nearer a bigger town, so I'll end up buying some supplies and working on the offender in a car park like a hobo. Just been quick enough, purely by chance, to catch a train coming down the LandRover spiral, which is actually up, part of it is up behind me. We'll go and have a look at the lookout after, but it's quite a significant piece of engineering and one of the two things that LandRover's known for. This, obviously, the more positive one. Sadly, it's famous for what's widely known as the LandRover massacre, which highlights mental health at its extreme end, I guess. If I'm correct, it was the mid to late 1980s or early 1990s that happened. I may be getting confused with Aramoana. Okay, so I'm in Taimaranui and just arrived, just been to the supermarket, etc. But my fuel issue is back, exactly the same as last time when I had the wiring issue. So pump speed's also different, so that suggests that it is something in the solenoid like it was last time. So at this point the wire appears to be attached, so I've got absolutely no idea, but it's presented exactly the same way as last time. So the front tank appears to be fine, so I'm going to continue on, head to camp. Alright, so I've just made it to camp here in Poriora, and absolutely beautiful. The sun's just starting to go down behind me. I'm the only one here, and the bird song is absolutely incredible, which is what I had read about this place, so that is pretty awesome. Fuel issues continue to present themselves once, weirdly, and so I've got reception here, so I'm going to reach out to the ex-military LandRover group and see if anyone's got any ideas, because what I'm sure happened, from my knowledge, is an impossibility. So it's got me a little bit buggered, but I've gotten to camp tonight and I'm heading to another campsite tomorrow, which is nearer a bigger town, so I'll end up buying some supplies and working on the offender in a car park like a hobo. Sun's going down behind me, and as you can hear, there's so much bird song, and a lot of birds that I'm not actually even sure what they are. Got a new camera this trip as well, so that's quite exciting. So hopefully these low light bits of video are a bit less grainy than they previously were, doing it off the iPhone. We've got a little bit of internet reception here, so I've been in the forum and got some answers to my question about my fuel issue and how to bypass it, so that's really, really handy. So we'll see what tomorrow brings with that. It's all gone pretty quiet out here, a bit of lightning in the distance, but clear skies and looking pretty good overnight too. So morning, up and into it for another day. Really quiet night here last night, which is fantastic. A little bit of bird life slowly coming out now. Into the morning coffee, the fire's going. And just a nice relaxed start. It's actually quite warm too, which is wonderful. Oh, that's made my morning. just seen a kaka fly directly overhead, which been able to look straight up, and yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm gonna hopefully try and capture one of them on video. Problem is I have got a reasonably short lens, so they may not be that easy to spot, but we'll give it a go. If it happens, I'll put it in. Not sure how good that audio is, but that's a kaka in a tree not far from me. So pretty much packed up. It's just time to go and do the usual, clean up the campsite and leave it better than when I found it, because as per usual there's all kinds of rubbish. Not too much, but just enough that it shouldn't be there. Oh my god, this is disappointing. Alright, so it's going to be a bigger job than what I thought. I'm going to put the camera down, get it done, show you what's left at the end, and cleaned up. This is what we got. Pretty disappointed really. This campsite here, I can't remember the name of it offhand, is, of the two that I've stayed at in Poriora Forest, this is by far the best in terms of, it's just a nicer campsite, but also the bird life's absolutely amazing. This sort of thing's just so disappointing. For those that don't know, Poriora Forest was actually the site of quite a big protest against logging. Obviously there's the timber trail that goes through here that passes through some of the historical logging route and tells a lot of that story, but there was a big protest that has kept a lot of this native bush here that we've still got today, and I believe that was in the 70s or 80s, and so lucky that we've got it. As this is so far out of my travels the best bird life outside of a sanctuary that I've been to. Short detour into the historic crawler tractor on the timber trail, so you can get to this both from the trail itself or from the main link road between Western Bays Road and Barryville. So very cool. New addition since I was here many years ago is the sledge, which was used for towing weird loads, timber fence battens and that sort of thing, which is a lot of what was milled out of here, and for getting it across rough ground. So that's actually really cool to see that these things are constantly evolving. So I've just made my way up into the forest tower. So really worth searching out if you're in Poriora for a view out over the treetops, and there's a whole heap of kaka calling again, so it's pretty awesome. Okay, so apparently this isn't a road. It sort of is a road, but isn't a road. Not as bad as I thought. I just hit a massive pothole where both front wheels came off the ground even when I slowed down for it, but it was too late. Just trying to find my way back without backtracking completely. But according to Google Maps, this does not exist. So this has been on my list for a while. Geographic centre of the North Island. The plane was to come through here in late January, early February this year on the Kopico, and admittedly a couple of years back on the trip that started miles per hour, I should have come through here as well. Neither thing happened for two different reasons, but centre of the North Island. Bit of a casualty on the way in. Heaps of tree fall and didn't spot one, but most of it's been cleared wide enough to get a, well, it's all been cleared wide enough to get a vehicle through. Didn't spot that bit until I lost a mirror, which is a bit of a bastard, but there we go. At least I've got the taps to clean out the threads to the correct size, because after all the comments on the butchering my mirrors, everyone's told me that they were correct, and well, the bolts wouldn't go in, so therefore they weren't. So just pulled into Kokako campsite, so that's at the other end of Link Road in Poriora, and sort of looking for somewhere to stop and have lunch that's pretty chill and not just on the side of the road really. And the other end of Kokako campsite is pretty busy, but this part I stayed at last time. First trip away in the offender actually back in January, stayed here with the boys and my mum, but it's yeah, I got nothing. It's absolutely trashed since I were here last. The other end's actually not a hell of a lot better, but and trash, there's just, you can see there's just broken shit everywhere. So I'm going to set about picking up what I can. I've found a perfectly good bucket, so I'll take that. I'll take that because I've run out of rubbish room, but we'll try and do something constructive with this and carry on. Alright, so I've run out of room, both in the offender and in the bucket, but that's an entire bucket of stuff from this campsite, including someone's mirror. It looks like a much more expensive mistake than mine, but from where I found it I have a feeling that theirs wasn't quite so innocent as my loss of a mirror. So play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Alright, I'm going to be honest, I'm not really feeling it, so I'm going to get this here out and go for a bit of a ride and try and get myself motivated. I weren't planning on doing this trip this weekend. I had something else that's been planned for months, but the weather hasn't played the game for that, and needs my health lately. But I've put this trip off for quite some time now, just time and resources basically. Yeah, it's literally staying just down from Hooker Falls, so it'd be rude not to come and check it out, as much as I really don't like the place. Get myself off the bridge. I'm not a fan of water at all. We'll carry on. Ride went well. Actually really enjoyed it. And again, it's a loop that I've wanted to do for quite some time. Goes down across Hooker Falls and back into Taupo. Quite a cool track. Not too hard, but technical enough that it's not just a footpath, which that makes it a bit more fun. So you come back here and it started to fill right out. In my usual fashion, I've parked in a place that nobody else seems to bother parking because it's grassy and out of the way. The offender calling the wind and more people rolling in. Right, so my decision to get here nice and early and set up and chill and go for a ride has paid off, because the place is absolutely packed now, and just had a chap get stuck and I have to borrow my recovery boards and still couldn't get himself out, and so moved forward and he could drive around me. So that's my good deed for the day. A lot busier than I'd like and that I'd normally have, but I've got a room with a view looking straight out over the Waikato River, Hooker Falls, and so you'd probably spend thousands of dollars a night to get a view like this, and I kind of have, but fuck it. Now, wouldn't be living the hobo life if I weren't shopping at Pack and Save, and I've got eye fill it because we might be living the hobo life, but it's cheaper than sausages, let's be honest. So I'm a little bit disappointed that I'm not cooking my steak on the fire, but somewhere that I can cook on fire is about 30 kilometres away, and I need to be back this way tomorrow for what I want to do tomorrow. So for 60 kilometres worth of petrol, I could have paid somebody else to cook my steak, and it wouldn't have been cooked on fire either. So here we go. Just toasting up some bread. Yes, I'm ruining eye fillet, and I don't care. I'm actually thinking that looks pretty well cooked too. Pretty impressed with that. Let's see how it tastes. God, that's good. Almost too good to put in bread. Well, I'm going to be honest. Earlier in the day, I was actually feeling pretty flat. I've got to say that dinner has absolutely made my night. The ride did help. Getting out and doing something's always good, but damn, that dinner was good. Absolutely beautiful morning. Have a look at that view from what was my window this morning. Old mate in the van who got stuck last night got stuck getting out again this morning, so I've moved and got the recovery boards out and given him a push, and we very near had to give him a tow. So breakfast time, nice and easy this morning, and just doing quick oats because I can't be arsed. I want to get out for a ride before it gets busy. But one thing I'm not scrimping on is the coffee. So I've got a Panama from Mulatto coffee that's stunning. Something slightly more interesting for breakfast tomorrow. And back to adventure cooking for one with Nigel No Mates. Right, so in Kinloch, about to do K2K, and there's another track on the way back, makes it a loop, it's about 35k. This is a track that I've planned to do twice already. First time was when I had the fuel issue. I was supposed to come up and do the classic and take an extra couple of days, and the weather was shit and I just weren't feeling it, so I never got here then either. So here we are, third time lucky. So most of the track so far has been in bush like this, so really cool. Track just takes a bit of a curve here, but couldn't get a more stunning viewpoint than that. Well, I've made it back, but about 10 kilometres ago, about an hour ago, I had quite an impact with some tree fall, or more so the stump. Miscalculated the gap and haven't quite seen what the damage is inside my gloves, but my finger, my brake finger that took all the impact's absolutely throbbing, so I'm going to have a look and see what's going on there. Okay, so that just goes down the track a bit further, which then goes through a bit of a bog. Doesn't actually look like there's campsites down here, and that's what I'm looking for, so I'm not gonna go and ruin my afternoon. Here we are. On the way in, I must say, I was thinking it's a long way to come out of the way unless you've got something else to be doing here, but now that I've gotten here, it's actually a really big campsite. The dinner tonight's pretty easy. I'm just using up everything that's in the chili bin that I can't really keep. I have decided that pine cones are the perfect fuel for this little fire. All the wood that I raided before was actually too big for it, but any wood that I generally put in it smothers it or burns down really fast, and the pine cones are just absolutely fantastic. Beautiful evening chorus tonight. More pork out to my right, and this carker out to my left, and something else that I can't identify. The sun's well and truly set. I've shut myself in, I'm just chilling, and I think first stop in the morning will be, at this rate, Taupo Hospital, just to get my finger looked at. It hasn't improved, and so that's a number of hours ago now, and when I did prod at it before, it was quite sore, so I won't be doing that, not again. I'll leave that to the doctor. I'll remember to take some paracetamol or something before I go in. It's not the first time I've done these sort of things, so I know what it's all about. And can also say that my broken $2 packet of Mitre 10 mosquito coils works really well. I have no bugs in here tonight, despite them buzzing around the moment I arrived. Whereas last night I didn't spot any, but I ended up with heaps inside. So that's not all bad. Well, it's morning. And a bit of a fire going. Time to get breakfast on the go. Figure kept me awake at times last night. Damn, it was sore, so we'll get this done early and get on our way. So my peanut butter didn't like being in the chili bin apparently. It's gone to shit. So I'm going to quickly down a second coffee and get in the offender where it's equally as drafty and cold. But I'm going to change to the usual coffee programming. Instant. But it's good instant. It's made from a coffee from Timor-Leste, and my boys at Flight Coffee have made it into an instant. I'm going to go and dump my ashes in the fire pit over there, throw my dishwater on them, and my fire's out safely too. Then we'll be on the road. So leaving camp, and I've remembered one of the reasons why I wanted to come into this part of the Kaimanawa was actually for the Kaimanawa wall. Almost forgot about it. Ironically enough, drove straight past it yesterday. It's about 500 metres before the Clements Road End campsite, which is the one that I stayed at. So that's the Kaimanawa wall. There's all kinds of theories that it could have been made by ancient civilizations or aliens or all kinds of things. Yeah. I'm inclined to think that it's a phenomenon. A natural one. It's very spectacular though. If you're intrigued by this type of thing, it's definitely worth going and checking out Whitecliff's boulders as well. More to add to the collection. And so I'm going to go and run the Tongariro River Trail. Last time I was here I rode that trail and it's really cool, so I sort of know what I'm in for. Then I'm going to treat myself. Okay, so that's the run done. Those of you who aren't following the Smiles Per Hour social media won't probably know. Actually in training for an adventure run in January. Those who've been following the YouTube will know that the Micro Adventures weekend was the first time I'd run in 9 years, so well into my training now. That run was just under 13k. Private mineral hot poles for the win. So these are the Tucano thermal pools, so they're natural geothermal mineral pools. Honestly can't recommend escaping to a hot pool enough. So many times in the last few years of going regularly for my health, I've actually found that it's the one time that I actually have utter clarity without distraction, because you're sitting here with no devices, no other distractions, because I go by myself. It's even more mind clearing than going for a run or going for a ride, because when you're doing those things, you're focusing on not dying. One of the things of yesterday's little misadventure on the trail has taught me is, if you're feeling tired, stop for a rest, rather than trying to rush and ride faster to get the ride over with. I weren't feeling all that well, having had Bowen on Monday night, which knocked me around because of all my running training and so on, and so felt a little bit under the weather, so definitely not feeling as fit as I should be. These things happen, but it's a bit of a lesson learned, especially for some bigger rides coming up. I've got something very, very special to me, very important, planned, which I'll hopefully do in the next couple of months, but the video may not come out until next year. There'll be more about that on why, when it happens. The historic Tukanu Wharf, really peaceful spot, beautiful spot to have dinner if you're in Turangi, Tukanu area. Just over there we've got the steaming cliffs, so geothermal as well. A brief bit of history. Before the road network, steamers used to take supplies and passengers from here across Lake Taupo to Taupo. That was the only access before the main trunk line and before roads. And so many of the people coming across here, if they'd come up from Wellington, which majority did, would have come up the Wanganui River on the steamers, on the steamboats as well. Well, found camp for the night. So just down the road from where I stayed last time, but different campsites, and we have a room with a view and a well-stocked fire. What's not to like? Alright, so gonna have another crack at my steak sandwich, because I actually really enjoyed that the other night. I'm gonna do it with a slight difference tonight and see if it's better. Can confirm that was good, so I'm gonna have to make another. was Kiritahi Falls. It's at the end of the Tongariro crossing. It's about a 10 or 15 minute walk in. Really easy walk.